Peggy 3.
Hi, you're watching The Bootroom. I'm Matt Cuttle. This is Darren Cross of Match Magazine, and this time we're talking about shooting. Now, Darren, shooting in FIFA 14 has changed a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, there have been a few interesting changes, so we're going to look at those and how you can use them to score more goals, and we've got a few other tips too.
Right, so we've got some fundamental differences in the way you can actually score a goal in FIFA 14. What's your first tip?
Yeah, it's one that I use a lot actually, and that's the new angles that you can score goals from, which some players perhaps don't realise. From what I've seen so far online. So whereas in 13 you might have had to turn in towards the goal to make an angle, you can stay more or less sort of square on or straight onto the goal and hit the bottom corners without having to turn in. And that's really effective, and it means that because you don't have to turn, you reduce the chances of being blocked or tackled.
Because you can see in this clip here, if you had turned, you probably would have been blocked or tackled on that shot.
Yeah, the defender probably would have got in the way and made an interception, but obviously the important thing is that I'm still keeping the ball on my striker's strong foot. But as you can see, I'm sort of straight onto the byline and then just hitting the ball into the bottom corner without having to do that turn first, and it really saves you some time and it can really get some goals.
Now let's have a look at the other clip you've got for us here, because you're actually running away from goal towards a corner flag.
Yeah, I think this is one of those positions where people may not be aware that you can score from in 14, and now because of the changes to the ball movement and the improvements to shooting, when the ball is running across your player's body and perhaps you're going away from goal, occasionally you'll be able to wrap your foot around it, and you can see here how we really spin it back into the corner. And that again can be a really effective way to score. It's not going to work every time, but there are occasions when it's really worth a go.
Now there have also been a few changes to the chip shot, haven't there?
Yeah, it does seem a little bit easier to score chips and dinks this year, which is something that I do a lot. In fact, I probably choose that now more than going around the keeper, which is a bit tougher, and I know we're going to talk about that in a few minutes as well. But yeah, the chip shot can be really effective, and you can see in these clips how we manage to get the ball up and over the keeper, but still keep it under the bar, even when we're quite close into the goalkeeper, which is another position that I really like to use a chip from.
Because previously I would have only ever have attempted a chip if I was outside the penalty area and the keeper would come right out, so I could get the ball up and down. But it does seem like you can score a chip.
Yeah, that does still work nicely. You can still chip the keeper if he is far out from his goal, just by obviously putting a bit more power on it. Yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of players don't realise, or perhaps haven't tried, that chipping the goalkeeper from closer, which as you can see in some of these clips, it really does work.
Now let's move on to going around the keeper, because they've changed the controls here. To knock the ball forward, you've got to hold down the right trigger as you knock the ball forward with the right stick, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly, and it does make it a little bit trickier. I have to say, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because in 13 I used to use that one quite a lot, and it used to work most of the time. So I think probably the changes they've made there, are that bit more realistic. But it is tougher. I find that if you're running in a sort of an angle and you're just pushing the ball ahead of you without having to change directions, then you've got a better chance of beating the keeper than if you're running straight at him and then trying to push it left or push it right. Generally, when you're that close to him, changing sharply direction like that, he's going to intercept the ball. So if you haven't got to change that run path, you can just do a big push on the ball, and that will give you the best chance of getting around him.
And I guess if you are changing direction sharply, that's why it's more difficult in FIFA 14, because of the new momentum.
Yeah, so we know that momentum is key in all aspects of the game in FIFA 14, but specifically with going around the keeper, when you're turning at very sharp angles like that, obviously you slow down quite a lot, and that's what I think makes it easier for the keeper to come out and intercept the ball. Whereas if you're just going in a straight line and already moving at speed and then nudging the ball ahead of you, your momentum should hopefully take you past the keeper, whose own momentum means that he's going sort of too quickly to readjust and tackle you. So that's why running in the straight line and pushing the ball gives you the best chance of getting around him.
So what are some other effective ways of shooting?
Yeah, there's one that I kind of found out the hard way this year, which was the early shot, and players taking shots much earlier than I anticipated. And what I'm talking about here is either you're bringing the ball down and players are hitting the shot before it's really had a chance to bounce, so it's maybe on the half volley, whereas perhaps I expected them to dribble it and work the ball onto their stronger foot or a better shooter position. And the way that catches you out is your goalkeeper and your defenders are still in the mode of getting into position to defend against what they think you're going to do. So again, it's the whole sort of unexpected nature of what you're doing there that helps you to score. And there are other instances, like you can see in this clip, a player goes through and takes a shot much earlier than the goalkeeper probably expected, and therefore he's not quite in the right position to stop it.
Darren, before we go, any more tips for shooting?
Yeah, just going back to some older tips that we've covered before, really, which is to emphasise that it's always worth having a look at your players and checking them out for which side is their strong foot, how strong is their weak foot, and what is their finishing ability, remembering that finishing relates to their ability to score inside the box, whereas long shots is more to do with how good they are at scoring from outside the box. So keep all those things in mind. It's really worth knowing, especially the dominant foot and how good the weak foot is, because that can help you decide whether you need to turn and get it onto your strong foot, or whether actually you've got quite a good chance of scoring on your weaker side.
And I've seen this a lot in FIFA 14. It definitely is worth having a pop shot from outside the penalty area, because with the new ball physics, those balls sometimes do take people by surprise and they do go in.
Yeah, and they look great when they go in as well, and they feel great when you hit the ball properly like that, and that's one of the reasons why I really like the improvements to shooting. And as we saw earlier in the clip with the ball running away from the body, it is now possible to hit really lethal long shots from different angles that weren't possible before, so that's another really nice feature.
Thanks for those tips, Darren. Now I believe next time we're going to be looking at some skill games, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to take a look at ground passing, because I think it's a really helpful skill game for improving your passing ability and helping you keep possession in games, so we're going to start with that.
Good stuff, look forward to that. Don't forget you can catch Darren every week in Match Magazine, that's out on a Tuesday. Check out their Facebook page as well, details are down there. We'll see you next time on the Boot Room.